Welcome back to English Podcast Academy, my lovely students. In this episode, we are tackling a challenge that many English learners struggle with: how to speak without pausing too much. Have you ever been in a conversation where you knew what you wanted to say but your words didn't come out smoothly? Do you often find yourself hesitating, searching for the right word, or filling the silence with, or you know? If so, don't worry. You are not alone. Speaking fluently and confidently is a skill that takes time to develop, but with the right techniques, you can reduce pauses, sound more natural, and keep conversations flowing smoothly. In this episode, we'll explore practical strategies to help you speak without unnecessary pauses, improve your fluency, and gain confidence in your English conversations. Let's get started. Let's dive deeper into how you can train your brain to think in English and eliminate unnecessary pauses. One of the biggest obstacles to fluency is the habit of mentally translating from your native language before speaking. This slows down your speech, disrupts the flow of conversation, and can lead to unnatural phrasing. Instead of relying on translation, you need to create a direct connection between your thoughts and English words. The key to achieving this is immersion, surrounding yourself with English in your daily life so that your brain starts processing information in English naturally. Start by exposing yourself to English as much as possible. Watch English videos, listen to podcasts, read books, and engage with native content regularly. Even if you don't understand every word, your brain will begin to recognize patterns and absorb the language structure. Another great technique is to talk to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing throughout the day as if you're narrating your own life. For instance, when you wake up, say, "I'm getting out of bed. I feel a little tired, but I have a lot to do today." While making coffee, say, "I need to boil water. Now, I'm pouring it into my cup. Let's add some sugar." This simple practice helps you think in English naturally without stopping to translate. To take it a step further, imagine you are explaining your actions to an English learner. Pretend you are a teacher guiding someone through your routine. This forces you to speak in clear, simple sentences and reduces hesitation. You can also try picture-based storytelling. Look at a photo and describe what's happening in detail, as if you were explaining it to someone who can't see the image. The goal is to make thinking in English second nature, so that when you speak, words come out smoothly without pauses. Another powerful exercise is to set a timer for 1 or 2 minutes and challenge yourself to speak continuously about a topic without stopping. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. The focus is on maintaining fluency. If you get stuck, don't pause. Use filler phrases like, "Well, let's see," or "That's a good question." These help keep the conversation flowing naturally, just like native speakers do. With consistent practice, you'll notice that your brain starts responding in English automatically, making your speech smoother and more confident. Let's talk about the fear of making mistakes and how it affects fluency. Many learners pause too often because they are constantly evaluating their speech, trying to find the perfect word or structure before speaking. This perfectionist mindset slows down conversations and creates unnecessary pressure. But here's something important to remember. Even native speakers don't speak perfectly all the time. They forget words, restart sentences, change their thoughts midway, and use fillers like well, or you know, when searching for words. So if native speakers don't expect perfection from themselves, why should you? One of the most effective ways to overcome this fear is to focus on communication, not perfection. Instead of freezing when you can't remember a specific word, train yourself to describe it using simpler language. Think of it as playing a verbal game of charades. If you forget the word refrigerator, you can say the thing that keeps food cold. If you can't recall umbrella, say something you use when it rains. This approach keeps the conversation moving and prevents awkward silence. Plus, it reinforces your ability to think in English without relying on direct translations. Another great way to build confidence is to practice speaking with the mindset that mistakes are a natural part of learning. Instead of aiming for a flawless sentence, aim for fluency, meaning your goal should be to keep talking without long pauses. A helpful exercise is to give yourself a small challenge. Set a timer for 2 minutes and talk about any topic without stopping. If you make a mistake, don't stop to correct yourself. Just keep going, the way native speakers do. This helps train your brain to focus on the bigger picture rather than getting stuck on minor details. Additionally, you can practice rough draft speaking. Just like writing, your first attempt at saying something doesn't have to be perfect. Speak freely, and if you realize you could say it better, you can refine it next time. This reduces hesitation and makes speaking English feel more natural. The key takeaway is that fluency is not about saying everything perfectly, it's about keeping the conversation flowing. When you shift your mindset from I must speak correctly to I must keep speaking, you'll notice a huge improvement in your confidence and fluency. Let's expand on shadowing and how it can help you train your brain to speak without pausing. Shadowing is one of the most powerful techniques for improving fluency because it forces your brain to process English at a natural speed. When you listen to a native speaker and repeat their words as quickly and accurately as possible, you are training your mouth, ears, and brain to work together in sync. This helps you develop better pronunciation, a natural rhythm, and the ability to think in English without hesitation. To get started with shadowing, choose audio recordings of native speakers. If you're a beginner, start with slower recordings, such as audiobooks or English learning podcasts, where the speech is clear and paced. As you get more comfortable, challenge yourself with faster conversations, news reports, or even TV shows. The key is to mimic everything, the intonation, stress, and flow of words, without stopping to analyze every sentence. Don't worry if you don't understand every word. Focus on the sound and rhythm instead. Your brain will gradually start recognizing patterns, making it easier to form sentences naturally. A good way to incorporate shadowing into your daily routine is to set aside at least 5 minutes a day for practice. You can listen to a short clip, pause, and repeat after the speaker, or, if you're more advanced, try speaking along with the audio without pausing. The closer you match the speed and tone of the native speaker, the more natural your speech will become. If you want an extra challenge, try shadowing without looking at a transcript. This forces you to rely entirely on your listening skills, making your brain process English faster. Another way to reinforce fluency is to combine shadowing with reading aloud. Pick a passage from a book, article, or script and read it out loud, trying to match the natural rhythm of spoken English. This improves your pronunciation, boosts confidence, and helps you get used to speaking continuously without pausing. Over time, these techniques will help eliminate hesitation, making your speech flow more smoothly and naturally. The more consistently you practice, the more you'll notice that words and phrases start coming to you effortlessly, just like they do for native speakers. Expanding on sentence chunking, let's explore why this technique is so effective and how you can use it to speak more fluently. One of the biggest challenges language learners face is thinking about every individual word while forming sentences. This slows down speech and leads to hesitation. Instead of processing words one by one, you should train your brain to recognize and use common word groups as single units. Native speakers don't construct sentences word by word in real time. They rely on familiar phrases and patterns that come naturally. By practicing sentence chunking, you can do the same, making your speech flow more smoothly without unnecessary pauses. To apply this technique, start by identifying common phrases and expressions that native speakers use in everyday conversations. For example, instead of thinking of I, don't, know as 3 separate words, say the whole chunk I don't know as a single unit. The same goes for phrases like it depends on the situation, I'm not sure about that, or what do you think? The more chunks you practice, the more natural your speech will become. A great way to get used to sentence chunking is through repetition. Pick a set of useful phrases and repeat them aloud until they feel automatic. You can also listen to native speakers and identify how they group words together. Pay attention to their rhythm and intonation. Notice how certain words are naturally linked, Then try mimicking their speech, focusing on these chunks rather than individual words. Another effective way to practice is by using sentence frames. These are partial sentences that you can easily complete with different words. For example, you can memorize the chunk "I'd like to," and then practice completing it with different endings. "I'd like to order a coffee," "I'd like to go for a walk," or "I'd like to learn a new language." This helps you become more comfortable with constructing sentences quickly without overthinking. Sentence chunking is especially helpful in high-pressure situations like job interviews, presentations, or fast-paced conversations where fluency is crucial. Instead of struggling to form each sentence from scratch, you'll be able to recall familiar chunks instantly, reducing hesitation. Over time, this technique will make speaking feel more effortless, allowing you to focus on the conversation rather than worrying about individual words. The more you practice, the more confident and fluent you'll become. Expanding on this idea, let's talk about why running out of things to say leads to hesitation and how you can train yourself to keep conversations flowing naturally. One of the main reasons people pause while speaking is that they don't know what to say next. This often happens when they give short, one-word answers that don't provide enough material to continue the conversation. The key to avoiding awkward silence is to practice expanding your responses. Instead of answering with a simple yes or no, try to add extra details that make your speech more engaging. For example, if someone asks, "Do you like traveling?" and you just say, "Yes," the conversation might stall. But if you expand your response and say, "Yes, I love traveling. Last year, I went to Italy, and it was an amazing experience. The food was incredible, and I loved exploring the historical sites." You not only keep the conversation going, but also give the other person something to respond to. They might ask, "What was your favorite part of Italy?" Or, "What other places do you want to visit?" This helps create a natural back and forth dialogue instead of a series of short, disconnected responses. A great way to practice this skill is by asking yourself follow-up questions. Imagine someone asks, "What's your favorite food?" Instead of just saying pizza, try adding details like, "I love pizza, especially with extra cheese. I remember eating the best pizza in Rome last summer. It had a perfectly crispy crust and fresh mozzarella." By adding a memory or a personal opinion, you turn a simple answer into an interesting conversation. Another helpful technique is to use the because rule. Whenever you give an answer, challenge yourself to explain why. Instead of saying, "I like reading," say, "I like reading because it helps me relax and learn new things. My favorite book is The Alchemist because it has a great message about following your dreams." This naturally expands your speech and makes you sound more fluent. You can also practice storytelling to get comfortable with speaking for longer periods without pausing. Think of a simple event from your day and try describing it in detail as if you were telling a friend. Instead of saying, "I went to the park," say, "I went to the park this morning and the weather was perfect. The sun was shining and there were lots of people walking their dogs. I sat on a bench and listened to music for a while. It was really relaxing." The more you practice, the easier it becomes to think ahead and keep speaking without hesitation. By training yourself to give longer responses and add details, you'll find that your conversations flow more smoothly and you won't feel stuck searching for words. The goal is to keep speaking naturally, even if you don't have the perfect words, because fluency comes from confidence and practice, not from knowing every single word. Expanding on this idea, let's explore why daily speaking practice is one of the most effective ways to reduce pauses and improve fluency. Many language learners hesitate when speaking because their brains take time to process thoughts, find the right words, and structure sentences correctly. The only way to speed up this process is through consistent, active speaking practice. Just like any other skill, the more you use English in real time, the more natural and automatic it becomes. One simple but powerful exercise is the 1-minute challenge. Pick a topic, anything from your daily routine to your favorite hobby, and set a timer for 1 minute. Your goal is to speak continuously for the full minute without stopping. If you run out of things to say, describe the objects around you, talk about what's on your mind, or even narrate what you're doing at that moment. The key is to keep speaking no matter what. Don't pause to think too much, and don't worry about mistakes. Just keep the words flowing. If you find this too easy, challenge yourself with more complex topics or extend the time to 2 or 3 minutes. Recording yourself can also be an eye-opening exercise. When you listen back to your recordings, pay attention to when and why you pause. Are you hesitating because you're searching for vocabulary? Are you stopping too often to correct your grammar? Identifying these patterns helps you understand what's slowing you down so you can focus on improving those specific areas. Over time, as you get used to speaking more fluidly, you'll notice that your pauses become shorter and less frequent. Another great way to practice is by speaking with a language partner. Find someone who can ask you random questions or challenge you with different discussion topics. This forces you to think quickly and respond without too much preparation, mimicking real-life conversations. If you don't have a language partner, you can simulate this exercise by using conversation prompt apps or writing questions on pieces of paper and randomly selecting one to talk about. The key to success with daily speaking practice is consistency. Even if you only practice for 5 minutes a day, your brain will start processing English faster, and you'll develop the confidence to speak without hesitation. The more you expose yourself to real-time speaking situations, the more natural fluency will become. With time, you'll find that conversations flow more easily, and you won't need to pause as much to gather your thoughts. Expanding on this idea, let's talk about why embracing silence is actually a powerful tool for fluency. Many language learners fear pauses because they associate them with hesitation or a lack of confidence. However, the truth is that pauses are a natural part of speech in every language, even for native speakers. The key difference is that native speakers use pauses strategically rather than out of uncertainty. Instead of filling gaps with they take controlled pauses to gather their thoughts, emphasize important points, and make their speech sound more confident. One of the biggest mistakes learners make is thinking that fluency means speaking as quickly as possible. In reality, rushing through sentences often leads to more mistakes, awkward phrasing, and increased hesitation. A steady, controlled pace allows your brain to process information more effectively, making your speech smoother and more natural. Think about how professional speakers, news anchors, or TED Talk presenters speak. They don't rush, and they use pauses effectively to engage their audience. To get comfortable with silence, practice mindful speaking. The next time you feel like you're about to fill a pause with or take a deep breath instead. Let the silence be there for a second before continuing. This might feel unnatural at first, but over time you'll realize that a brief pause actually makes you sound more composed and in control of your speech. Another way to practice is by reading aloud with intentional pauses. Take a passage from a book or an article and read it slowly, pausing naturally at punctuation marks and after key ideas. This helps train your brain to get used to structured pauses rather than nervous hesitations. If you want an extra challenge, try recording yourself and listening back to see where you tend to rush or hesitate. Finally, remember that pauses can be used to your advantage. If you need a moment to think, it's perfectly okay to pause briefly before continuing. Instead of viewing silence as an obstacle, see it as a tool to improve your fluency. When you stop fearing pauses, you'll gain more control over your speech, sound more confident, and reduce unnecessary filler words that disrupt the flow of conversation. Embrace the power of a well-placed pause, and you'll notice a big difference in the way you communicate. Now, my lovely students, it's time for your challenge. This week, I want you to pick at least one of these fluency techniques and practice it every single day. Whether it's shadowing, sentence chunking, expanding your responses, or speaking out loud for 1 minute, the key is consistency. Choose a technique that fits your learning style and commit to improving your fluency step by step. But don't stop there. Try combining different methods to maximize your progress. For example, you can start by shadowing a native speaker, then summarize what you heard in your own words. Or you can practice sentence chunking and then challenge yourself to use those chunks in real conversations. The more you experiment, the faster your speaking skills will improve. Make fluency practice a habit, not just something you do once in a while. Even 5 minutes a day can make a huge difference over time. Remember, speaking fluently isn't about being perfect. It's about being confident and keeping the conversation going. So challenge yourself, push past your hesitation, and start speaking more naturally. And don't forget to share your progress. Leave a comment and let me know which technique you're using and how it's helping you. I love hearing about your journey and celebrating your improvements. That's it for today's episode of English Podcast Academy. Keep practicing, keep improving, and most importantly, enjoy the process of learning English. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay confident and keep speaking.